We should be live now. You should be able to hear us. Bonjour à tous et à toutes et bienvenue à Coffee Break French. Moi, comme d'habitude, c'est Marc.
Et moi, c'est Pierre-Benoît.
Comment vas-tu aujourd'hui, Pierre-Benoît?
Très très bien, ma foi. Très content d'être avec toi, d'être avec vous tous. Et toi-même, Marc, comment te sens-tu? Comment vas-tu aujourd'hui?
Je vais très bien, merci, et très content que nous ayons le même t-shirt.
Oui, le mien, c'est... Alors, si j'arrive à le lever, je n'arrive pas, c'est de ce côté-là.
Non, l'autre,
Pardon,
l'autre côté.
c'est quand même, ça dit Coffee Break French, donc c'est cool. Voilà.
Yeah, it's a little bit complicated when we're trying to do this in the mirror, but yeah, all good. We're delighted to see you here today. As you can see, there is a clock counting down 4 minutes to go before our actual lesson starts. We'll have a little chat with you just now and make sure everything is okay, and then we will get on with our lesson. Now, today's lesson is all about pronunciation. This is a pronunciation special. Pierre-Benoît, tell us a little about pronunciation. Why is it important?
It is very important because if you don't pronounce the words correctly, and like I've just done, for example, correctly or correctly, then people just think, "Oh, I didn't understand what the person said." But at the end of the day, you don't want to get too worried about it because people, if you make the effort, people will understand you. So you try to get the word across as best as you can, and there are tips as you're going to see because we're going to be looking at some specific sounds, and that's going to help you. That's for sure.
Tout à fait, tout à fait. Let's see who we've got joining us today for our live lesson. We've got Knishka. Bonjour, Knishka. Delighted that you are here. Who else do we have?
Loretta, bonjour Loretta.
Bonjour. We have Abigail. Bonjour, Abigail. Knishka thinks this is a super subject for this lesson. Excellent.
Très bien.
Nous avons aussi Gillian. And I'm looking at Gillian's comment here. A good one.
J'ai la patate, ça c'est super, c'est bien.
You can have the potato or have the banana or the
La frite, j'ai la frite. J'ai la frite, j'ai la pêche as well, the peach.
Lots of different types of ways of saying you're ready for things. You're in a good frame of mind. Let's see, who else do we have? We've got Lisa joining us from Ithaca in New York. Très bien. Bonjour. Who else do we have?
Esther, bonjour Esther.
We've got Gillian joining us. Bonjour, Gillian. Oh, let me see if I can... Oh, it's not letting me do that one. There we go. Gillian's joining us. We also have Lily from San Jose. Fantastic. Let's see who else we have now.
Brenda de Lincoln. Bonjour Brenda.
Bonjour, bonjour. Lots of people saying bonjour. We've got to say a special hello to Granny Pat. Flora's Granny Pat's joining us today. You're very welcome. So we hope you enjoy this lesson. We've also got Lynn joining us from Arizona. Fantastic. Delighted to have you here.
We have Hannah as well. Bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde.
Okay. Tina's joining us from Suffolk. And Robert is joining us from Milton Keynes. Now, one other thing that we meant to say is that you may want to grab a pen and paper to write some notes down on this one. Hopefully you will be able to take some notes as to what we're talking about. We're focusing on two sounds. You can't cover everything about French pronunciation in 20 minutes. We're focusing on two sounds, two particular sounds that learners very typically find really quite tricky. So you can look forward to this. A couple of points also. We're streaming on YouTube and on Facebook today. We are on the Facebook Coffee Break French page, of course, and on our YouTube Coffee Break Languages page. So if you've joined us on YouTube and you're wondering, oh, I don't speak French or I'm not learning French, then you can join us tomorrow for Italian, and you can join us next week for German and Spanish. So you can look forward to them. But today we're focusing on French pronunciation. Tomorrow we'll be looking at Italian pronunciation. But I hope that lets those of you know who are joining us for another language. In fact, I'm just seeing Franisa's asking about an Italian live stream tomorrow, Franisa. But to the rest of you, bonjour Sarah, bonjour Anchor. We've got Vigdis in Norway. Who else do we have? Let me see.
Craig. Bonjour Craig.
Indeed. Logos Learner saying, very cool guys, j'aime bien ce que vous faites. Merci beaucoup.
C'est gentil, c'est très très sympa. Merci Logos.
And who else? We've got Delith joining us from Villeneuve-sur-Lot.
Ah, que je connais bien, très belle région. Bravo.
Excellent.
Tu as de la chance.
It is time to begin because our clock is getting to zero. So 20 minutes on pronunciation, and we will get straight into this lesson now. So the clock's on the screen, 20 minutes. We're counting down for some French pronunciation. Pierre-Benoît, what are we going to be covering in this lesson? Let's take... Oh, that's not supposed to look like that. Apologies for that. There we go. Two of Pierre-Benoît. One's enough, I think.
Well, we're going to be looking at a specific sound, and it's the sound, le son R, Mark.
So in each of the two sounds that we're looking at, we'll be talking about the sound, how to make the sound, looking at some example words, giving you some practice, and then a little bit of a challenge in terms of good reading material to get yourself into this sound. So to begin with, we're talking about the sound R in French. It doesn't sound R in French, however, does it?
No, in French it's R, R. R. It's a specific sound, you know. If you've had a wee bit of a knowledge practice in Spanish and Italian, you can roll the R using your tongue, but for the French R, the tongue is not really used. It stays at the bottom of your mouth. Okay, and it's in the upper part of the throat. Okay, so it's a lovely sound, air. And when you get it right, it sounds right. It sounds beautiful French. Okay, it's like the word romantique. You know, it's not romantic, romantique. I really like that.
Romantique. Okay, so this sorry, I've just got to share this comment. The bottom one is a teacher at my school, so.
All right.
So one of your students, Pierre-Benoît, is watching you.
Ah ouais, bonjour. Très bien. Normalement, il devrait être à l'école.
There we go. So for me, the R sound, it kind of starts almost as if you're going to start saying the letter K, but it's really quite far back. So if you were to say koala, so k, but then put your tongue where it's supposed to be for K, but then just kind of breathe through it or breathe in through it.
Well, that's good. That's quite good. I like that.
It's not particularly pleasant to watch, so we'll move on, I think. I think what we should do is look at some words that feature this sound. So Pierre-Benoît, can you give us these words, and then let's have everyone repeating after you.
Avoir.
Okay, so listen to the way that sounds at the end, particularly at the end where we see the R at the end. One more time.
Avoir.
Okay. Try this one.
Hiver.
Okay. Another word.
Père.
Okay.
Regarder.
Now, in this one, we've
I like
got
that
to be
one.
careful.
I'm going to say this one again.
Yeah.
Regarder.
So we've got to be careful here because this word also ends in an R, but that R is of course silent, as are all ER verbs. So when you get ER at the end of a verb, that's a silent R. But the one at the beginning, let's see that again.
Regarder.
Très bien. And one final word here.
Réponse.
Okay, let's go through each of these words again, and hopefully you can say these, wherever you are, wherever in the world you're watching this, you say these along with us. Go for it again, Pierre-Benoît, one after the other.
Avoir. Hiver. Père. Regarder. Réponse. Particularly the last two ones, regarder and réponse. You can hear the r in the back in the top of the throat here. Yeah. Okay, I really liked what you were saying, Mark, about the koala, but sometimes I think as well about the g sound, the G sound as a g sound. It could also work like that, and I always tend to try to tell people to imagine themselves as being maybe an animal. Like let's say you're a dog, and you just before you bark or before you growl, you've got this sound here, and I think that's quite good to think about the R sound, Mark.
Absolutely,
personally.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So let's take a look at some more words, and what we're going to do this time each time is we'll put the word on the screen. And you should say the word, and then Pierre-Benoît will say this word. So let's see if you can try saying this word. Okay, Pierre-Benoît, over to you.
Maître.
Okay, so it's coming after your T's there, so maître. and it's kind of like a little bit swallowed there, maître. Okay, try saying this one. It comes at the beginning of this word.
Radis.
So you've got it at the beginning of the word, like regarder, radis, radis, coming at the start. Another.
I think it's easier, I think, when it's at the start, actually.
Yeah.
Radis. Okay, at the end, as you said, it's a wee bit étouffé, a wee bit kind of swallowed by the previous consonant.
Let's look at another word.
Randonnée.
Okay, so try saying that. Randonnée. Okay, and another word.
Irait.
Irait. Okay. And one final word.
Pourrait.
Okay, now what we've not done is talk about what these words mean. So let's just jump back to our previous page. And we've got avoir, which of course means to have.
Ouais.
Hiver, winter.
Yeah, and it's interesting here, we need to say the R at the end, Mark.
Yep.
Hiver,
Even
one
though
of those few words that we need to sound, the R needs to sound.
Exactly, yep. So père, meaning father, of course. Regarder, to look at or to watch. And réponse, an answer. And in our second batch, we had mettre, to put. Radis, radish. Randonnée, a walk or wander, a hike.
Yeah.
Irais, that's like j'irais or tu irais, you would go, the conditional of aller. And then pourrait, another conditional of pouvoir. Now, it's interesting there because pourrait has a double R, but is there any difference between a single R and a double R in French?
Not to me. Whether you say pourrait, if it's one R or two R's, it sounds exactly the same as far as I'm concerned. Okay, there's no difference. And that's a big difference if also our listeners are learning Spanish, for example, when you got pero and perro and different sounds can mean a different word, you know, and you don't have that issue in French.
Okay, let's move on to our challenge where we've got some sentences to practice this R sound. So let's take the first one. Pierre-Benoît, give it your best.
Vous êtes prêts? Je me prépare. Robert regarde les rouleaux dans la mer. Je répète.
Oui, vas-y.
Robert regarde les rouleaux dans la mer. Ok, j'exagère un petit peu, mais bon.
So, les rouleaux are the rollers, the waves, the big rolling waves, the sort of movement of the sea. Robert regarde les rouleaux dans la mer. Robert is watching the rollers in the sea. Excellent. Encore une phrase, un exemple.
I like that one. Mon père a rencontré ma mère à Quimper en hiver.
Okay. So,
I'd love to hear you all saying it. It would be super.
Just imagine everyone repeating this.
I'm going to say it again. Mon père a rencontré ma mère à Quimper en hiver. Let's hear you, Mark, sing.
Okay. Mon père a rencontré ma mère à Quimper en hiver.
Bravo.
So we've got Quimper there, which is a place name. And sometimes you find with place names, because they're often linked to other languages or regional languages, the pronunciation rules change a little bit with place names. So Quimper, a place in Brittany, and we pronounce the ER in the end. But we also pronounce the ER at the end of hiver. Mon père a rencontré ma mère à Quimper en hiver. My father met my mother in Quimper in winter. Très bien.
Lovely.
Okay. Another example.
Les trois voleurs ont vraiment pris tout l'argent du coffre.
Encore une fois.
Les trois voleurs ont vraiment pris tout l'argent du coffre.
Super. So, les trois voleurs, the three thieves, ont vraiment pris, they really took tout l'argent, all the money, du coffre, from the safe, the box.
Safe, yeah, le coffre.
Du coffre. Et encore un exemple, je pense. Vas-y.
J'espère, oui. Ça, c'est un dicton, ça, c'est un genre de proverbe, de choses qu'on dit tout le temps. Il vaut mieux prévenir que guérir. Je répète, il vaut mieux prévenir que guérir.
So literally, it is more worthwhile to warn than to heal.
Yeah.
But there's an English version of this which completely escapes my mind at the moment, which is
Prevention is the cure. I think it's what it is. Maybe there's a better one, but I think that's what springs to mind as well.
Prevention is better than the cure, or something like that. And no doubt our listeners and viewers will tell us in the comments, I'm sure. So there's another sentence focusing on the key to this. Let's just take a look at our golden rules here. First of all, don't worry too much about it. Don't worry if you can't get that perfect the perfect French R. And the fact is that pronunciation of this R sound will change in different parts of the Francophone world. So you may hear a more rolled R in certain French-speaking countries or in certain areas. And it's most important just to not worry too much about it. Also remember those silent R's, the ones that come at the end, particularly in the infinitives. And really, practice makes perfect. So take as many opportunities as you can to use your French and to use words including R's.
Très bien.
We've got some examples of the proverb: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Excellent.
Ooh.
Good stuff. Let us continue on with our second sound, and this is another tricky sound, and this is the sound U.
That's a tricky one.
Tell us a bit about this sound.
You need to push yourself forward.
So it's the letter U. And we see it in lots of words. But what we've got to be careful is that we make a distinction between this U and the more rounded sound oo.
Yeah, they're two distinct sounds, Mark. And one is at the back of the throat, the oo. You're going back a wee bit, oo. Mm-hmm. Okay, whereas the U, you need to go forward, and they're really, really different sounds, but they're quite difficult to make, you know. And sometimes they can be too close to each other when we say them, and we don't know if it's U or U. So you really have to exaggerate until you can really split them up and really make really keep them apart. So as you know, when you use U and when you use U.
Absolutely. What I always suggest to people when they're trying to make this sound is if you start by saying E and make the sound E and have a really wide mouth like E, but then bring your lips forward, keeping that same sound. Don't change the sound. Keep it as E, E, and then when your lips are forward like that, you're making that U sound.
Yeah, that's very good, Mark. 'Cause I think the idea of having the lips flat together forward, that's the only way you can pronounce, you can say a proper U sound. You can see my lips going forward just now. U. There's no other way of making it, okay? And it's funny, is actually if you start laughing, there is no way you can actually make a U because you can't keep your lips flat and forward. Try it. It's impossible. People will laugh at me, but that's just a fact of life. You cannot make a U if you're laughing or smiling too much, you know. So U.
Let's look
okay,
at
and
words.
Help yourself pushing forward. You know, push forward with your lips. Okay.
Let's look at some words that feature this sound.
Yeah.
Go for it, Pierre-Benoît.
Lune.
Lune, so the moon. Okay, and you can even hear the difference in their sounds. So lune, moon. Again, don't focus on the English, focus on the French. No, lune.
French, yeah.
Let's have another one.
Yeah, lips forward. Jules.
Okay, so the name, Jules.
Pur.
So the word for pure, pur.
Reculer.
Reculer. Okay, so U sound again there.
And that means to go backward,
yes,
reculer.
Sorry. Yes. And then final one.
Sûr.
Sûr.
Ouais.
Excellent. So sure, the word for sure, and we've given both the masculine and the feminine form there, and just remember the little circumflex on there. So sûr.
I think I should go through these again, Mark.
Yep,
what do you think? Mm-hmm. And maybe our listeners want to repeat them after me.
Yeah.
That would be good. Okay, ready? Lips forward, flat, forward. Lune. Jules. Pur. Reculer. I'll say that one again. Reculer. sûr.
Super.
How was that?
Super. Okay, we've got another batch of words. Let's go through them quickly. The first word here.
So how's that one? I'll see it now.
Okay.
Bulle.
Bulle.
Ouais.
Okay. And another word here.
Musée.
Okay, I hope you're trying these before Pierre-Benoît says them.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then another word.
Give you 2-3 seconds there. Pollution.
Très bien.
Okay, it's in the middle here. Pollution. That's quite hard, that. Yeah. Quite tricky.
And another word. This has got an R in it too.
We're combining both today. Ooh la la.
Vas-y.
That is a tricky one, actually, because sometimes that's when we hear the sound ooh and it's not the right thing. It's voiture.
Voiture.
Yeah, voiture.
And finally,
Sud.
Sud. Très bien. So we have bulle, musée, pollution, voiture, and sud.
Très bon accent, Marc. Bravo.
Batch of words, but it's time to move on to some examples. So, Pierre-Benoît, can we have yet another performance of this sentence here?
Yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 sounds here, huh? 5 U sounds. Okay, are we ready?
Vas-y.
So you're gonna say them after me, okay? When I've all finished them. Le pull de Luce n'est plus dans la voiture de Jules.
So we have le pull de Luce n'est plus dans la voiture de Jules.
Et en plus rapide, c'est super. Le pull de Luce n'est plus dans la voiture de Jules. It's like a tongue twister, isn't it?
Le pull de Luce n'est plus dans la voiture de Jules.
Bravo,
You can
bravo,
feel
bravo.
the sound in the front of your mouth. Okay, so Lucy's jumper is no longer in Jules' car. Something like that.
Disappeared.
It's disappeared.
Disappeared.
Okay, let's look at another example.
1, 2, 3 et 4. J'ai aperçu la lune au-dessus des dunes. C'est poétique, hein?
Poétique, ouais, tout à fait. So, j'ai aperçu, that's from apercevoir, to notice.
Tu notices, c'est bien.
La lune, we've talked about, au-dessus des dunes. So, au-dessus des dunes, above the dunes. So, you can imagine the moon appearing above the dunes.
And as you were mentioning earlier, Mark, you know, the U versus the OO sound, okay? Au-dessus, above, and au-dessous would be under or underneath. And these are two words, you know, obviously that's when you realize if you get the wrong sound, then it means something else. So it's very important here.
It can really be quite
Dessus
important.
and dessous. Yeah.
Although I think if we were noticing the moon under the dunes, something would be pretty far wrong.
Oui, c'est vrai, c'est vrai.
Okay, let's look at another example.
Ah ouais. 2, 3, 4. C'est vrai, à 5 aussi. As-tu vu qu'il a bu tout le jus de prune? Je répète, plus doucement, plus lentement. As-tu vu qu'il a bu tout le jus de prune?
Okay, as-tu vu, have you seen, qu'il a bu, that he has drunk, tout le jus de prune, all the prune juice or the plum juice.
Très bien.
So, have you seen that he's drunk all the plum juice? As-tu vu qu'il a bu tout le jus de prune? This one's tricky because it's got tout le jus. We've got an ou and then an u straight afterwards. And that's something that we do find difficult. I see Lisa's saying that in the comments. I'll come back to the comments once we're finished our final example.
But that's a good one to practice, you know? Okay. And some of them are wee silly examples, some are poetic, but this one is really, really interesting.
Vas-y.
Let's go for this one. J'ai entendu le murmure d'une tortue d'Honolulu sur le mur.
So I heard the murmur of a tortoise from Honolulu on the wall.
Très bien. Now,
It's
obviously,
the kind of
that's because I wanted to cram as many U sound as I could, okay? But I'm going to say it a wee bit faster, just for you to get the rhythm here.
We've got 15 seconds, so go for it.
Yeah. J'ai entendu le murmure d'une tortue d'Honolulu sur le mur.
Voilà. Super. Okay, so yeah, these golden rules very quickly. Don't worry too much about it. Again, try not to compare the U to sounds in English, and your tongue should be further forward in your mouth. So compare tu and tu. Two different sounds completely. Yeah. So tu far forward and tu further back. Très bien. That is our 20 minutes up on this important topic. I'm just looking back at some of the questions and some of the comments. Lisa saying, pour moi, le plus difficile, c'est de bien prononcer les mots dans lesquels il y a un ou suivi d'un u. Par exemple, voulu. You're absolutely spot on there, Lisa. I think everyone finds that tricky. Pierre-Benoît, can you say that word there?
Voulu. So I'm trying this now that vous, I'm going backward with my shoulders, and lu, I'm going forward. Voulu. Because anything, any tip, any way of improving my pronunciation, okay, that's the way I think, okay. I think it's very important. So.
Super. Asma is saying, can we make a show with the Spanish language? So on a week on Thursday, we'll have a Spanish pronunciation special, so make sure you join us then. And also, I want to ask if beginners should focus on listening only or listening with text. That's a tricky question. It kind of depends on the individual. If you like seeing the way in which words are formed and the way they sound, then listen with alongside the text. I have to say, I quite like seeing words written rather than just hearing them. But it also depends a little on the language. And I think if it's Spanish that you're learning, that's possibly just a little easier than with French in terms of reading the words and hearing them at the same time as a beginner. So I hope that helps, Asma.
Yeah.
Anything to add there, Pierre-Benoît?
I would prefer to see the text, that personally. And I think you can visualize the word, obviously, that you're saying at the same time. I think it's important. But everybody, prefers their own way, with it.
Tout à fait. So you seem to have enjoyed this. Gillian saying bravo, merci. Pam saying merci. Liz, bien, merci beaucoup. Saige, very helpful, excellent. Sarah Jane, merci beaucoup, très utile.
Très bien.
And yeah, lots of nice comments. Merci, super, merci, excellent.
Merci, Siobhan.
If you have enjoyed this lesson, do let us know. And of course, if you're watching the replay of this lesson, perhaps you're sound asleep in the middle of the night in Australia at the moment, in which case we're not really expecting you to be up watching this. But if you're watching the replay, then we hope that you have enjoyed this. Of course, there's much more from Coffee Break French. We have lots of content on our podcast feed, which you can access. There are regular lessons there. We have all our social content on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. And we also have these regular live sessions. So the next live will be in 2 weeks' time. That is Monday the 23rd of November. So we'll be able to join you for that. We hope you've enjoyed it. I'm just checking through if there's any other questions. Pierre-Benoît, any final thoughts before we finish off?
No, I think at some point when we were talking about the R, the R sound, I was thinking about sometimes in songs you will hear the R being rolled, and don't then question it and say, oh, that's wrong because I thought you didn't roll the R in French. There will be some people who sometimes will roll the R, and you know who I'm thinking about, a very famous French singer.
Yeah.
And I've always said I need to go back and see if when she speaks does she roll her R's a wee bit, or if it's only when she sings.
Now, you can't leave us without a song. You've got to give us a song if you've brought this up.
Yes, but if I do it and then you don't like it, I'll just have to say, non, rien de rien, non, je ne regrette rien. No regrets.
I'm kind of beginning to regret asking him to sing. Anyway, on that note, we will say thank you very much indeed as ever, and we hope you've enjoyed it. For now, merci beaucoup et à très bientôt. Au revoir.
À la prochaine. Au revoir. There's no more music?
No, hang on. We are not off yet.